Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Nathalie Saunderson, and if we have not met before, this channel is being resurrected from a space where I wasn't really putting out that many videos, and I have recently resurrected my online yoga community specifically for some of the reasons that I'm going to be sharing in this video. And what I've seen in the past few weeks and many years previous to this is that there's all this growth that's happening in our collective communities. And the growth is always, obviously in my eyes, I feel it's always for the benefit of us to understand more about ourselves and to understand more about what's needed in the community itself. But specifically, I wanted to speak to something today that I'm seeing a big trend and a shift in the world of spirituality, and why I feel this strong desire to step up and teach again. And without going too far into my background, I keep saying close to 20 years. It's, if I do the math, literally it's over that. But anyway, I started training when I was in my fairly early 20s, and was already teaching a little bit previous to that. And so what I'm going to be referencing to is a little bit of my journey, but also what I've seen evolve for the community in the last 2 decades. And by no means is this a totalitarian view. There's lots of different people who can contribute to this conversation. But I wanted to offer my insight, because there's always that moment where we have the opportunity to either share what we are experiencing or to swallow it. And why I feel this kind of resurgence of teaching has been tapping me on the shoulder is because there's a lot of wisdom and there's a lot of pillars of understanding that I've acquired in the years that I've been considered spiritual or a teacher. And long story short, one of the most beautiful things I've seen in the last, I think, 5 years, let's use 5 years first, is that there's more and more people in the world who are asking deeper questions. And these deeper questions, if you haven't already felt like you were seeing these bigger questions about life and the meaning of your own life and what you desire for your life, and what is governing your life, what is running your life. You know, these kinds of things are really well-known, familiar topics for people who are drawn to the spiritual path. Now let's go back a bit. First of all, I feel that everyone in their lifetime is going to have opportunities and encounters with, let's say, a deeper part of themselves, a deeper initiation into who they are as a soul or as a person. Now, if you don't believe in the idea or the concept of your own soul, then let's just use the word, your core, your essence. And we know that we have this part of ourselves that is there, that is unique to us, because when we get really, really quiet, as one does on the yoga mat in yoga practice, we start to understand where we are, where we stop, and other influences, conditions, voices, situations come in, right? Because when we start to distill our attention and focus our thoughts and our energy to open up our consciousness, which means that we're directing ourselves to remove all the daily distractions so that we can be fully present for the information that is available to us. We can raise our consciousness. Now, this isn't a hypothesis. This is scientifically, we can do this with brainwaves and all the things. But for the purpose of this video, what I feel has happened in the spiritual community is that there has been like many, many different eras, let's say, eras of growth where people have wanted to kind of up-level their way of living. And when this happens, when we say, hey, wait a second, there's more, I'm going to start to shift and make a few different decisions. I'm not going to let myself go into that kind of old habitual pattern. I'm going to start to ask questions. I'm going to take my life into my own hand. Every single time throughout history, that is met with, well, why wasn't I already able to before? And it does open up a whole Pandora's box about where we're at in this point in time in history, because we are, whether we recognize it or not, our own essence, our own lifespan is contributing to history. We are playing a conscious part of our decisions on a daily basis, from what we consume, from what we purchase, to who we support, to where we put our thoughts and our focus. And at this point in time, there is an uprising again of people asking more questions. Okay, what is the meaning of my life? What do I want to do with my time here on earth? Because I know that I have only a finite period of time. And when we start to open ourselves up to that, there is the very eye-opening awareness that there are certain organizations, let's say a loose word, organizations, systems in place that profit from having people not ask those questions. And they profit off of people doing what we've been trained to do, which is to pursue a life that has minimal kerfuffles. We're contributing to society, we're paying our taxes, we're procreating, we're following all the rules, we're paying this fee, we're paying that fee. We're not really rocking the boat of how society is governed. And that got ripped really wide open 5 years ago when a lot of people said, hang on a minute, how are we being governed? All over the world this has been happening. All over the world, including countries where there is strong religious backgrounds, but this started to open up questions in many different demographics. And the thing that I see happening in the spiritual realm is that, oh great, all these people are starting to want to take an interest in their own human condition. This is fabulous. There's going to be more people healing. There's going to be more people living lives that bring joy to the planet, that we can together step away from feeling like life just happens and we struggle to make our way through into a more empowered version of what it is to be alive and how we make our choices and who gets to make our choices, really. Now, this was a really amazing opportunity, but of course it was met with a lot of people who were holding containers, let's say teachers, leaders, spiritual teachers, who, like, throughout history, again, anytime that we step towards a bigger governing body, we have to look and accept that there's things that come into play, like power dynamics, like shadows, people's shadows. And when I use the word ego in the spiritual community, there's this dance around the word ego. Is it good? Is it bad? Should I kill it? In the Buddhist traditions, for me, I always feel like my ego, because I know myself well, my ego is there to remind me to stay in a place of safety. If I had no ego, I would be very susceptible to bleeding out my energy and not being able to contain my decision making and my thoughts so that I am a functioning person. So the ego can either be like a dog. It can be, my dog's outside. It can be something that gives you great companionship, or it can be something that you struggle with and the dog is rampant and all over and causing a lot of problems in the neighborhood. My point being, it's still a dog, but it can be many different things, right? And the ego is similar. And so what happened was there was all these teachers holding these different kinds of containers. We have a lot of people heading into different bodies of work, like deep breath work, ayahuasca journeys, different kind of medicine journeys, all these very deep, ancient practices were being done by people who haven't necessarily had the experience or the stability within their own energy field to hold that. And I say this because all through my 20s, when I was working steadily in a very busy city, Vancouver, BC, several different periods of my career at that stage showed me that what I was experiencing wasn't just burnout. It was actually the overwhelm of all this different energy that I was working with. I was molding a room full of 25 different moods 3 times a day, 25 different bodies with different needs, and I was shutting a part of my brain off so that I could see what was needed in that moment. Okay, so that is a skill set of being a teacher. It's being able to collectively understand what's needed. This is still how I teach. I don't necessarily have a one approach, let's say one body of wisdom, one body of knowledge that I'm pulling from. It's multi-layered at this point. And that in itself has caused the spiritual community to seem somewhat confusing for a lot of people, because we have different people representing very old ancient bodies of work that aren't necessarily in integrity with that body of work. Now, I've always said that to be a teacher is to be the most committed student of whatever you're teaching. And for me, yoga is not just about the shapes and the postures and relieving stress. In fact, yoga isn't about relieving stress at all. Yoga creates that ripple effect. Your stress will feel like it abates and it shifts because your experience is different when you practice. And yet, there are many people that are still marketing this ability to change your state, to take away something, to make you a different, better version of yourself through these modalities. And they are promising things that, in my eyes, isn't safe to promise someone who is already in a vulnerable position. Now, as a teacher, I think anybody watching this, feel free to comment. I think we know exactly what level of care someone that we're working with requires. We can have a student who's just, they come every day, they're in a good mood, they want to practice, or they're ready for their class. And then we can have somebody who has an acute back injury. We can see they have trauma, they're about to cry. And it's a very different level of, I want to say, studentship. It's a very different level of holding that space as a teacher. And I feel strongly that we need to be very mindful about how many people we work with. My mouth starts to do this thing when I mean what I say. How many people we work with, because even if as teachers, yes, we have careers that we are supporting ourselves with, yes, we want to help as many people as possible, but we are not meant to help everyone. And this is something that I feel when I look out into the world of people who are, let's say, really widely well-known names. There is a lot of people that I either know stories about, have sat in the same room with, look at their marketing and think, no, something in your energy field doesn't resonate safety to me. It doesn't feel clean. And I'll tell you really quickly how to spot a teacher that feels safe for you to work with. A good teacher, in my eyes, no matter what it is that you're teaching, does not tell you that you need to follow their lineage and do this exact process that they've done and only this process, otherwise it won't work. False. A good teacher will remind you that at any moment and any time, you can access not only your own divinity, your own essence, your own answers, your own ability to calm down, your own freaking ability to change your entire life, your own truth, your own sacredness, your own center. A good teacher will show you how to do that. And then they will expand on what to do with that. Because obviously when you do that, it might bring to you some new awarenesses of your life. Things might need to change. Conversations might need to be had. People might be disappointed in this new, real, truthful version of you. And that is also part of the resistance for spirituality to be embraced, because it disrupts in order to create healthier connections. Let me say that again. Most people, when they become, let's say, spiritual, they end up leaving quite a lot of the environments and the situations that maybe they grew up in, or that was serving them for one part of their lives. And I say serve because even if you do grow, what's happened in your past, we should never make wrong. It doesn't mean that you were broken, even if it feels like you were when you reflect back on that. It's all part of your journey. It's a part of your evolution. And a good teacher will help you embrace and integrate every part of your story. Because as soon as you take your first breath, even before you take your first breath as a baby, you have energy circulating through your system. You are a uniquely designed essence that is here to live a life, and you can tap into different tools to understand how to navigate what that life looks like and how to let yourself really move into the, let's say, the fullest version of that life. And I don't believe anymore in the word potential necessarily. I use it only a handful of times, but when I got into the spiritual community, that was rife with, becoming this best version of yourself, being better, getting better all the time, following these diets and doing these detoxes. And I'm heavily into detox, by the way, but it's no longer my whole personality. It's something that I've incorporated into my life so that I can tend to anything that's been built up, and I don't just mean physically. When we detox, it's also a purging of energy that we've collected, maybe a pattern we've slowly found ourselves getting used to. Okay, this needs to shift. I'm gonna remove energy from my system so I can actually see what's going on. Now, back to the spirituality and teachings that are happening right now. We're at a moment in time, I'm going to speak very freely. We're at a moment in time where history is there to inform us. It's not there to be focused on. It's not there to be dissected necessarily, because in my eyes, it is something that we can either use our attention to focus on, or we can use our attention to focus in a direction that's going to actually propel us into the next version of how we live on this earth together as one people. And the biggest thing that I have to say, and maybe I'll have to do another video because it's getting long, religion and spirituality at their core are meant to do the same things. They're meant to bring out this essence of who we are, so that we can connect cleanly with all of life, with our communities, with nature, with the animals, with this very kind of euphoric version that we've never experienced yet on Earth. Well, some people might argue that point, but that we can remember cognitively. But we can sense it. So this is why it's important to recognize that history has a pattern of repeating. And when we aren't able to fully work together as people, then we are at a loss with what to do. We're fractured. We're often fighting against each other. We're going into semantics. We want to understand why all the time, instead of understanding that all of these answers, all of our knowing is very accessible. But it does require you to create a really strong relationship to yourself. This is also another spiritual teaching that gets bashed, because I'm recording this actually on a full moon in Libra. Being selfish or being labeled as somebody who doesn't think about other people can sometimes happen on your spiritual journey. But in order to serve the most people, you have to honor yourself first as part of that practice. You cannot put everyone's needs in front of yours. And so again, the way to spot a really good teacher is that you're not there to do good work for that teacher. You're not there to please that teacher. In fact, I suggest you question the shit out of that teacher. That was for me. Because at the end of the day, a teacher is there to help you move further than their body of work. That's what we're meant to do. We're meant to help you gain the knowledge that you needed from us. It was, that we understand that we're here. We've done the work to understand what we know, and we are here to now perpetuate you into your next steps that you need to explore to find your next step and your next step. The way to spot a teacher who is super clear that their way is the way, the only way, follow me this way, don't follow them at all. And so this has really perpetuated a desire for me to share more of these videos, because when I look at the collective conversations, which there are many happening right now, it is my desire to really offer a space and practices, very simple practices, and very simple reminders that spirituality is just simply connecting to the essence of you in this lifetime, the expression of you, and how you can create and move through this world, giving back and creating what it is that you're meant to do with your one beautifully designed life. I would love to hear any comments in the section below, and there will be more. I don't want to make this too long, but there is lots of illusions where we need to discuss certain aspects of spirituality that is not black and white. There's room for understanding what spirituality is meant for and what it was initially offering us, the pathway forward, without seeing it as it's this way or it's this way, right? So I hope you found something in that that made you think, and that highlighted something for you and helped you found your next answer or your next teacher. And if you are interested, I do have my Patreon community that's opening very soon, that you can either participate for 4 or 8 monthly classes with some of these videos that are going to be dropping into that Patreon community about all things spiritual evolution and living your best life that you feel you can access. Take care for now.